After 20 years of heartbreak, a new secretary's incredible song revealed his hidden smile. Every day, Jack Thompson shuffled through the same dull maze of cubicles at Hendrick's Insurance, a family-run business in the heart of a quaint Rochester suburb. His heart, once full of music and dreams, now lay heavy like a forgotten melody. For the past 2 decades, Jack, a 40-year-old mailroom clerk, meticulously sorted letters and packages, using the motions to drown out the echoes of his past. He was the man who had a song in him but buried it under layers of loss, a mother who sacrificed everything, and a life spent walking through shadows. But on a brisk autumn morning, everything changed when Maya strutted in. New and vibrant, she filled the office with laughter, her infectious energy slicing through the monotony like a warm sunbeam. A budding singer, Maya radiated a passion for music that made Jack's heart flutter. She noticed him, too. Late one night, while doing inventory, Jack absent-mindedly strummed a forlorn tune on his guitar in the break room. Maya peeked in, her eyes wide. She was captivated. "Why don't you share that?" she encouraged, her smile infectious. "Let us do a karaoke night. That'll be fun." Until then, Jack had thought the music was just for him, something locked away, fragile and hidden. But Maya saw potential. Days turned into a countdown, as the excitement for karaoke night grew. Yet, with each passing moment, Jack's anxiety clawed at him, threatening to drag him back into a silence he was all too familiar with. He could hear the laughter around him, the increasing chatter as co-workers planned their performances. What if they laugh? What if I screw up? The possibility of public embarrassment hung heavy over his heart. Karaoke night arrived with a buzz of anticipation, laughter echoing off the walls like distant memories. A sense of community thrummed like an electric current through the room. One by one, co-workers took the stage, belting out familiar tunes, their voices weaving a tapestry of shared camaraderie. Jack sat quietly, overwhelmed by vulnerability as the crowd cheered for everyone else, but struggling to breathe beneath the weight of his thoughts. Just when he thought he could remain a silent observer, Maya caught his eye. She smiled, encouraging him without saying a word. Something in her gaze flickered hope within him, igniting long-lost courage. He stole a breath, feeling the tightness in his chest. With trembling hands, he grabbed the guitar and stood up, the room suddenly falling silent as he made his way to the stage. As he began to play his original song, Jack's heart raced with fear but pounded with a sudden sense of purpose. The notes spilled out like a flood, raw and heartfelt, each lyric echoing with years of heartbreak and unfulfilled dreams. The initial shock of the crowd transformed into something beautiful. Heads nodded, the rhythm caught hold, as a warmth spread through the room. It wasn't just a performance. It was a moment of collective understanding and vulnerability. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every strum, Jack opened up. His song resonated with everyone, revealing the common thread of struggles woven through their lives. Tears pooled in some eyes, smiles broke through heavy faces. It was as if he had freed the music from his soul and, in doing so, set the others free as well. As the last note lingered in the air, the audience erupted into applause, their astonished faces lit up, reflecting his own rediscovery. Among the crowd, Jack spotted his mother, Helen, her expression a mix of pride and love that pushed past the years of unspoken tension. The air crackled with newfound connections, threads of hope and support began to weave a tapestry of love. But just as Jack stepped back, fueled with a spirit reignited, the reality of life loomed again. He faced a critical decision, one that held the power to solidify his journey or drag him back into silence. Would he finally embrace the chance for redemption, chasing the music he thought he'd lost? As the applause faded, Jack felt the pull of courage against the pull of doubt, leaving him at the precipice of a new beginning. questioning if this was his moment to truly find his voice. The applause washed over Jack like a wave, invigorating and terrifying at once. As he stepped off the stage, the vibrant chatter of his co-workers filled the air, but all he could hear was the thundering of his heart. Maya beamed at him from the crowd, her enthusiasm radiating with a warmth he hadn't felt in years. She rushed over, enveloping him in a hug that felt like a lifeline. "You were incredible," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "I knew you had it in you. You have to keep singing." Jack laughed nervously, overwhelmed. "Thanks, but I need to catch my breath first." "Did I really sound okay?" She gave him a playful shove. "Seriously? You made my heart race." People were moved. He scanned the room. Co-workers were still buzzing with excitement, genuinely surprised. He saw their smiles, faces lit by the connection they had shared. Yet deep inside him, that nagging doubt ominously whispered, "What now?" As Maya chatted animatedly, Jack nodded slowly, swallowing hard. "I suppose I could do it again. But what if? What if you fly?" She interrupted, her voice firm yet encouraging. "You won. Just look at the way everyone reacted. You touched them." The spirit of camaraderie felt intoxicating, but uncertainty shrouded his heart. Jack's hands still trembled slightly, his guitar lingering in its case, but something deep inside him began to shift. The night wore on, filled with laughter and stories. Yet each new performance mirrored the old Jack, the timid man who clung to anonymity. As conversations floated around him, Jack felt like an observer in his own life. Despite the applause still ringing in his ears, an unsettling thought crept back. If he didn't act, if he didn't claim this spark, it would fade back into obscurity. And in that moment of reflection, Jack's attention slipped back to his mother, Helen, who stood at the edge of the crowd, her smile softening the lines of worry on her face. She had watched him for years, yearning for him to break free. A flicker of something, hope, perhaps, passed between them. He couldn't let it slip away. "Excuse me, Maya," he said, cutting short her joyous ramble. "I need to talk to my mom." Maya nodded, understanding instantly. Jack approached Helen, every step heavier than the last, yet buoyed by the sounds of laughter around him. "Mom?" he said hesitantly, her expression shifting from pride to something deeper. "I'm so proud of you, Jack. You were amazing up there," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "I can't help but feel it one last," he admitted, his voice a whisper, "that this was just a fluke." Helen stepped closer, their eyes locking. "Do you believe that it was? You shared a part of yourself. That's not a fluke. That's a gift. You have to chase this, Jack. You deserve to let your music flourish." Her words echoed within him, redefining everything. As the evening faded into night, the room still radiated joy. Yet inside him questions swarmed. What if he took those first steps beyond this night? What if he decided to quit the mailroom for good? Suddenly, the possibilities began to swirl. Jack could visualize performing again, perhaps even writing more songs, maybe even finding a gig somewhere local. With each passing thought, the once daunting prospect started to feel like a glimmering road leading toward something much bigger. But just as he felt ready to take that leap, the crowd gathered around the mic again. Maya had roped them into an impromptu group jam, calling him back to join. She waved him over with that buoyant energy that always lit him up. "You can't just disappear now. We want to hear that magic of yours again." His chest tightened at the thought. Jack could stay and blend into the collective joy, or he could embrace this moment, this chance to let the world know he was done hiding. As he approached the microphone, a silent war raged inside him. Could he claim a new identity, one where he wasn't merely an observer but a participant? All eyes were on him, anticipation tangible in the air. He took a deep breath, ready to decide which song to play next. But would it be his old, familiar tunes, or something completely new? Something that could finally shatter the suffocating silence within? With every moment passing, the chorus of voices faded into a heartbeat, his heart, each pulse challenging him to break free. Would this be the moment he'd been waiting for? Jack stood at the microphone, the weight of the world resting on his shoulders, and in that moment, everything felt impossibly still. The laughter and chatter morphed into a soft hum, a sea of faces gazing back at him, eager, waiting. He could feel the thrum of nerves, but alongside it, a tide of excitement surged through his veins. This was his chance. He looked out at the group gathered before him. Maya's encouraging smile anchored him, while Helen's proud gaze filled him with determination. He had let doubt cloud his mind for far too long. What if he chose to embrace this moment? What if he let go of the old fears and reached into the depths of his heart? Jack grasped his guitar, the familiar weight grounding him, reminding him of countless late nights spent perfecting chords and melodies. The strings felt warm beneath his fingers, and he knew he had to channel everything he had into this one performance. With a deep breath, he decided to take the plunge. "All right, this one's a little different," he began, his voice steadying as he glanced at the crowd. He strummed the opening chords, letting them resonate in the air. It was not a classic tune or even a well-known favorite. It was his very own composition, something he had been too afraid to share until now. The words flowed from him like a river, carrying fragments of his fears, dreams, and perhaps a hint of the future he dared to imagine as he sang. Jack poured his soul into every note. The room transformed around him. It felt like an awakening. He no longer felt like an observer, but an integral part of something beautiful. The laughter faded, replaced by the collective silence of his colleagues, all of them hanging on to his every word. And in that moment, Jack felt free. He dared to let his vulnerabilities shine, opening himself up like a flower in bloom. There was magic in sharing his truth. The trepidations that had tethered him for so long began to lift, replaced by a rush of acceptance and warmth. When the last chord rang out, Jack opened his eyes to the thunderous applause that erupted around him. Breathless, he looked up to see Maya dancing, her laughter infectious, while Helen wiped away tears of joy. Around him, his co-workers erupted in cheers and high-fives. He had done it. He had taken that leap. "You did it. You really did it," Maya exclaimed, rushing to his side. "That was something else." Jack grinned, his heart swelling with a newfound joy. "I can't believe I actually sang that," he admitted, disbelief mixing with exhilaration. "You need to share more of your music. Write more. Perform more." "This was just the beginning," she urged, excitement bubbling in her voice. Jack's mind raced. After years of keeping quiet, the thought of pursuing music seriously felt terrifying yet thrilling. He imagined writing songs that resonated, performing for bigger audiences, and maybe even stepping into a studio someday. But, as the exhilaration coursed through him, a small flicker of doubt nestled within. Would he be able to sustain this newfound courage? What if the moment faded away like so many others before it? Just as he was about to voice his concerns, a familiar face approached from the back of the room. Eric, the owner of a local bar that hosted musical nights regularly. He wore a wide grin, eyes shining with opportunity. "Jack, you've got the talent, man. Ever thought about performing at my bar? We could use a voice like yours on Thursday nights," he called out, his enthusiasm palpable. Jack's heart skipped a beat. Was this the moment when things truly began to change? Could this be the opportunity he had longed for, or another fleeting chance meant to disappear just as it appeared? Suddenly, the night felt charged with possibilities. Courage and fear mingled like a dance in his veins, each one vying for control. What if he said yes? What if he took this step into the unknown? As Eric approached, a series of challenging emotions swirled within him: excitement, anxiety, hope. He stood on the precipice of something new, and the real question loomed. Could he embrace the chance to find out just how far his music could take him? The applause still echoed in Jack's ears even as the crowd began to disperse. Maya was still by his side, excitement radiating from her in waves, but the warmth of the moment started to cool. The adrenaline that had surged through him not long ago began to settle, giving way to uncertainty. "Jack, this is amazing, you know?" Maya's eyes sparkled, but as she spoke, Jack felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The exhilaration was wearing off, and the crushing weight of self-doubt crept back in. What if he couldn't do it again? Yeah, it was something, he replied, trying to sound upbeat, but the tremble in his voice gave him away. Maya tilted her head, noticing the shift. You're thinking too much, aren't you? Just enjoy this moment. Jack forced a smile, but his mind swirled with questions. The offer from Eric hung in the air like a heavy fog. Performing at the bar? Could he really do that? Would anyone show up? What if he made a fool of himself? Just then, Helen approached, her face flushed with pride. Jack, you were phenomenal. You have a gift, and you can't let fear keep you from sharing it. Thanks, Helen, he said, although he felt like a child catching a glimpse of the horizon only to discover he was still grounded to the earth. Both women beamed at him. As if by some miracle, he could actually see the future unfolding in front of him. But it only served to amplify his insecurities. The pull of the familiar shadows in his mind threatened to drag him back down. What if he wasn't good enough? Jack, I don't want to keep you from planning your future career, but Maya began cautiously. But what? He prompted, the flicker of panic growing. You really should consider Eric's offer, she said. Could open so many doors for you. Don't let fear win. He listened closely to her words, each one bouncing around his mind like an echo. He knew she was right. This was his chance. But uncertainty wrapped around him like a shroud, blocking the light. Maybe I will, he started. But even as he spoke, doubt clouded his voice. In that moment, Eric reappeared, his grin wider than before. So what is the deal, Jack? When can I expect to see you on stage? Jack hesitated, feeling the heat rise to his cheeks. I need to think about it. The words stumbled from his mouth, the hesitation palpable. Eric's smile faltered for just a second before it returned, brighter. No pressure, man. Just don't wait too long. Opportunities like this don't just come around every day. With those few words, Jack felt his resolve waver again. He wasn't just considering a performance. He was considering a leap into the unknown that had terrified him for years. The supportive gazes around him only amplified his inner conflict. What if he invested all his energy into this dream, and it led to another disappointment? Before he could answer Eric, a familiar melody drifted from a nearby corner. A young woman was practicing with her keyboard, her voice pure and strong. Jack turned to see her lost in her song, completely unaware of the world around her. In that moment, something inside of him shifted. Her uninhibited joy was contagious, and he couldn't help but feel drawn to her spirit. He realized that maybe it wasn't just about him. I think I want to do it, he blurted out, the words tumbling like a cascade. I really want to perform. Maya's face lit up. Helen clapped her hands in delight. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. The thrill of excitement surged in his chest, but it was mixed with fear. Jack took a deep breath, the adrenaline coursing through him again. Could he really follow through? As Jill, the woman at the keyboard, wrapped up her practice, her eyes found his. There was a spark of understanding, a feeling that she, too, had battled fear to arrive at this moment. Little did he know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would make him question everything he thought he knew about himself. What if this changes everything? Jack whispered to Maya, feeling a mixture of exhilaration and uncertainty. And as the night deepened, Jack couldn't help but wonder, what would happen when he stepped into the spotlight again? Would it be the song of his dreams or the melody of his fears? The next day felt different for Jack. The sun poured through his window, illuminating his cluttered desk, but he barely noticed. All he could think about was the upcoming performance. An itch of excitement mixed with a heavier feeling that tethered him to the ground. He couldn't help but replay Maya's words in his mind. He thought about that young woman, Jill, and her fearless voice, and how it had sparked something within him. He grabbed his guitar and strummed a few chords, losing himself to the sounds. The melodies came easily, swirling and blending, but it was the lyrics that frustrated him. They danced just out of reach, a jumble of emotions swirling together. Jack wanted to convey the mix of fear and exhilaration he felt but struggled to find the words. Each note pulled him further from doubt and closer to an unrealized dream. But just when he thought he had grasped the essence he needed, a wave of insecurity washed over him. What if his song couldn't capture those feelings? What if the audience didn't connect? He slammed the guitar down on the bed, frustration bubbling over. "Come on, Jack," he murmured to himself, picking it up again. "You can do this." A few hours later, he found himself at a small cafe on the edge of town. The place was bustling with chatter and the clinking of coffee cups. He breathed in the aroma of roasted beans, feeling the warmth creep back into his heart. He spotted Maya and Helen chatting at a table by the window, their laughter rising above the ambient noise. "Hey!" Maya waved him over with a cheerful smile. "You all right? You look a little tense." "Just thinking," he replied, slumping into the chair beside them. Helen tilted her head, studying him. It's okay to be nervous. Just think about what you're doing. There's a chance to share your passion." "I know," Jack sighed, sipping his coffee. "It's just, what if I freeze up? What if everyone sees me fail?" Maya leaned in, her voice softening. "You're not alone in this. We'll be there with you, cheering you on. And hey, have you thought of reaching out to Jill? Maybe she'd want to perform with you." The thought hit him like a spark of lightning. They barely exchanged words last night, but there was something about Jill's spirit that he admired. "I guess I could try," he said hesitantly, his heart racing. Just then, Helen's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, her eyes widening. "Oh wow, there's a music open mic night next week. Could be perfect for you to debut." "Wait, next week?" Jack gasped, panic flooding his chest. "That's way too soon." "No, it's not. You're ready," Maya insisted, nudging him playfully. "If you wait too long, you'll find excuses to back out. Seize the moment." Jack felt a rush of heat rise to his cheeks as he considered it. He knew deep down that Maya was right, but still, the uncertainty gnawed at him. But what if people laugh? Or what if they cheer? Helen countered, an encouraging smile breaking across her face. A moment of silence passed as he took in their expectant faces. He had to face this fear. It had already haunted him for too long. "'Kay," he whispered. "Let us do it. I'll sign up." The words felt like a pact, each syllable igniting a mix of fear and triumph. In that instant, it felt as if a door had creaked open. Maybe this was the push he needed. As they celebrated his decision, Jack noticed a figure standing at the entrance of the cafe, a familiar silhouette with a thoughtful expression. It was Jill. Their eyes met, and she offered him a small, encouraging smile. He felt an unspoken connection, a shared understanding of what it meant to take risks. "Hey, maybe I can invite her to join me on stage," Jack mused to himself, hope beginning to spark anew. But even as excitement crept in, he realized another weight settled over him. The world ahead was still uncertain. Would she say yes? Just then, the cafe doors swung open, and in walked someone unexpected. Eric, his grin wider than ever. "Jack," he called, striding across the room. "I've got news about your performance." A rush of anxiety gripped Jack's stomach. What else was waiting for him? Would it be another burden added to his worry, or a chance to finally soar? He took a deep breath, the world suddenly a little more charged. Jack's heart raced as Eric approached, his presence like a sudden gust of wind. The eager twitch of Eric's lips promised something significant, yet the pit of worry inside Jack twisted tighter. He tried to read the playful excitement on Eric's face, searching for any clues about what was coming. Once Eric reached the table, his eyes danced with enthusiasm. "You're gonna want to hear this," he said, leaning in conspiratorially. "There's space for an extra performer next week." One of the acts dropped out. Jack swallowed hard, his throat dry. "An extra act? I was already planning to sign up. I don't know if I can handle more pressure." His voice faltered as uncertainty bubbled over. "Oh, Simon, this is a golden opportunity," Eric persisted, his eyes gleaming like treasure chests. "Imagine the crowd. You can own that stage, man. You'll be the highlight of the night." The images floated around in Jack's mind. Him standing on that stage, guitar slung over his shoulder, lyrics flowing effortlessly, applause ringing in his ears. But then a dark cloud rolled in. "What if I fail? What if I mess up?" "Jack," Maya interjected gently, squeezing his hand. "You won't know unless you try. And besides, you've got us. We're your biggest fans. Just picture it. Jack looked from Maya to Helen, and then to Jill, who had moved closer to listen. All of them wore expressions of support that pushed at the walls of his insecurity. Okay, he said slowly, the determination in his voice barely masking the doubt. I'll do it. But I need to get the song right. Good. Then let us figure it out together. Eric replied, excitement bubbling over like a freshly poured soda. After a few moments of strategy and laughter, Jack felt buoyed, even as the uncertainty loomed like a dark shadow at his back. He summoned courage and turned toward Jill. Do you think you might want to perform with me? I really admired what I heard last night. Her face lit up like a candle in the dark. Absolutely. I'd love to. Music is always better when shared. Jack's heart swelled. There was a warmth to her acceptance, a clean spark that seemed to melt away the last of his frozen fear. But as hope ignited, a flicker of doubt whispered, what if it isn't enough? As they worked through the next hour, strumming chords and bouncing lyrics off one another, an electric charge filled the air. It all felt real now, each note shaping Jack's thoughts, weaving fear into something beautiful. Yet, as they wrapped up their very first rehearsal together, he felt the mirror crack. The weight of their impending performance settled heavily like a lead blanket on his shoulders. What if I can't keep it together on stage? He admitted, rubbing his temples. You will, Jill assured him. Just be yourself. Let the music do the talking. He wanted to believe her. Later that evening, he lay in bed, eyes glued to the ceiling. The thought of the upcoming performance sent waves of nausea through him. He could faintly hear the applause now, the cheers each sound echoing louder than his own self-doubt. Taking a deep breath, he reached for his guitar and strummed softly, allowing the soothing chords to wash over him. With each note, he thought about the support from his friends, the shared spirit with Jill. Maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. Then he heard a soft knock on his door. It was Maya, her face serious yet kind. Jack, can we talk about expectations? The unease twisted in his gut again. What did she want to say? Would this be another conversation that would weigh him down? Or could it be the reassurance he needed? He could feel his heart pounding like a bass drum what would workshop the reality of his dreams. Was he ready to hear it? As he opened the door, Jack's eyes met Maya's, and the gravity of their unspoken words hung between them. This moment could change everything. Would it? Maya stepped inside, and Jack felt the weight of her gaze, curling around his chest like an old friend. The seriousness in her eyes spoke volumes. She wasn't here to just chat. I know you're feeling a lot right now, she began, her voice steady but soft. But I want you to remember something important. Jack nodded, pulling a hair away from his forehead, trying to steady the storm swirling inside him. Okay, what's that? Expectations can be overwhelming, Maya said, her tone wrapping around him like an embrace. It's one thing to want to be great, to blow everyone away on that stage. But it's another to forget why you're playing in the first place. Jack frowned, although he felt an inkling of truth in her words. What do you mean? Music is about connection, not perfection, she explained. You're not just there to impress. You're sharing a piece of yourself, your story. Remember that, and it might ease some of that weight you're carrying. The room grew silent for a moment. Jack looked away, contemplating her words. Could he really just let go of the fear of failing? What if I forget the lyrics? Or what if I mess up the chords? Jack's voice trembled slightly, betraying his vulnerability. Then you pick yourself up and keep going, Maya replied, her confidence solid. People aren't expecting a flawless performance. They just want to feel something real. A warmth spread through Jack, tinged with hope. He could let the music breathe instead of encasing it in anxiety. He took a deep breath, letting the air ground him. You're right. It's about being genuine. Exactly. She smiled, the brightness in her expression lighting up the dim room. And you have so much to give, Jack. Don't be afraid to let that shine. He couldn't help but smile back, easing a little. The way she believed in him sang louder than any applause he could imagine. What will I do if I freeze? He asked, suddenly feeling a surge of doubt creep back in. Just look at us. We're right there in the audience. Just one smile from the people who care about you can lift you through any moment of doubt on that stage. Maya's encouragement rang with a sincerity that Jack felt deep in his chest. We're your safety net. Hearing those words filled him with a fragile strength. Maybe he could trust that moment. As they talked, Jack felt a thread weaving between them, wrapping his fears in a warm, embracing tapestry of friendship. Thanks, Maya. I needed this talk more than you know. But he hesitated, feeling a swell of something deeper growing. What if it goes even beyond? Jack felt himself lost in a daydream of performing. The crowd's applauding faces, the joy of sharing music with Jill, and yet, tethered to the fear of failing. What if it feels so right up there? But then, and I could lose it all. He murmured softly, his worries suddenly echoing louder. You won tea, Maya insisted, her voice steady now, a cascade of conviction. And even if it feels like a risk, what about all the good things that can happen? The emotion you might inspire? The friends you'll create? Jack pondered this, his heart pulsing with the rhythm of his thoughts, weighing hope against fear. Could the music actually create a bridge between his insecurities and something beautiful? The stakes were higher, but so were the possibilities. He took a deep breath, dipping into those dreams again, imagining the performance. Maybe you're right, Maya. Maybe I can do this. With a newfound gleam in his eye, Jack thought of Jill, of her trust and warmth. I'm gonna give it my all. I just need to trust myself. Maya smiled brightly, relief woven through her expression. That's the spirit. Never underestimate the power of just trying. The conversation hung in the air between them, filled with a sense of purpose. Jack felt bolstered, ready to face whatever was next, until he thought of something that knocked the wind out of his sails. But what if everyone hates it? Maya's smile faltered just for a second as reality morphed. Well, we will be there to support you, but at the end of the day, it's still your journey with the music. Jack nodded, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts, mingling with excitement and dread. And then, the night carried on, but it brought with it a single burning question. Was this performance truly going to be a leap of faith, or would it crack open a dream that he dared not envision? The next days loomed with uncertainty, like a storm ready to break. Would he brave the tide? Jack couldn't shake off the weight of Maya's words, and as the days passed, they echoed in his mind like a haunting melody. The anticipation grew. He was just days away from the performance. Every moment felt heavy with potential, like the subtle tension before a storm. He found himself daydreaming in class, the strum of his guitar battling with the dull drone of lessons. Maya's encouragement floated to the surface, a lifeline amidst the swirling chaos of anxiety. Music is about connection. Each time he thought about it, a flicker of courage ignited within him. He spent countless hours in his room, practicing. The notes danced through the air, wrapping around him like a familiar blanket. But every time he hit a wrong chord or forgot a lyric, self-doubt crashed over him like frigid water. He had to remind himself that messing up didn't mean he'd lost the connection. It just meant he was human. In the middle of one particularly draining practice, the door swung open, revealing his younger sister, Lily, clutching a stuffed bear with wide, curious eyes. She had always been his biggest fan, her belief in him unwavering. "Are you gonna be famous?" she asked, bouncing on her toes. Jack chuckled, a smile breaking through the cloud of worry. "Famous? I'm not sure about that, but I'm going to try." He ruffled her hair, and for a moment, her playful grin melted his anxiety away. "Will I get to come see you?" she asked, her excitement infectious. "Absolutely." He felt a warmth in his chest, the thought of performing for her energizing. "I want you to be there cheering me on." "Okay, bring me some popcorn," she giggled before running off, her little feet pattering down the hallway. In those quiet moments, Jack allowed himself to imagine the audience, each face lighting up as he performed. He could almost hear the collective gasps and laughter, see the smiles spreading across strangers' faces. He could picture Jill in the front row, her eyes sparkling, her mouth caught in a proud grin. But just as quickly, doubt clambered back in, the darkness creeping in. What if they laughed for all the wrong reasons? What if he became a punchline instead of a storyteller? The thoughts flitted like shadows in the corners of his mind. One evening, as he strummed his guitar alone, a knock at the door brought him back to reality. It was Jill, her presence instantly lifting the heaviness from the room. "Mind if I join?" "Of course, please." He motioned for her to sit, his heart raining in a chaotic beat. As she settled next to him, the familiar candidness relaxed him. They exchanged jokes, traded thoughts on music, and soon she was humming along as he played. The laughter flowed easily, a balm for his nerves. "Jack, it's going to be great," Jill said, her eyes sparkling under the dim light. "People will love you up there. Just be you." "It's harder than it sounds," he admitted, biting his lip. "Just remember," she said softly, "you're sharing your heart. And that can be the bravest thing." Her words hung in the air long after she left, swirling around in his thoughts. Perhaps she was right. Maybe the true beauty of music lay in vulnerability, in letting others see the scars and triumphs beneath the surface. The night before the performance arrived, and Jack lay in bed, his heart racing. He replayed every moment, the practice sessions, the laughs he shared with Maya and Jill, the growing thread of connection with his sister. Each thought was a building block, edging him closer to resolve. As he closed his eyes, a soft breath of hope threaded through the fear. What if the performance was a leap into something wonderful? But just as he drifted off, another question whispered in the dark. What would it mean if he fell? And how would he rise again? Morning light sliced through the curtains, stirring Jack from a dreamless sleep. The day had finally come. He felt a mix of excitement and dread knocking at his chest. He tossed aside the blanket and sat up, his guitar resting in the corner like an unturned friend. He glanced in the mirror. Dark circles framed his tired eyes, but he took a deep breath, letting it fill him with a shred of courage. His fingers automatically brushed over the strings. The notes resonated in the quiet room, a gentle reminder of the connection forged through music. Lily burst in moments later, her eyes wide with joy. "Today's the day," she squealed, bouncing on her little feet. "Are you ready?" Jack tried to match her enthusiasm. "Yeah, I think so," he said, but his voice trembled just enough for her to notice. "Don't worry, I made you a lucky charm." She held up a crumpled piece of paper, covered in doodles of stars and guitars. Jack couldn't help but smile. "What is this?" he asked, examining it with feigned seriousness. "It's a magic ticket," she announced proudly. "You're going to make everyone smile. And then you'll be famous." He took the paper from her tiny hands and felt a warmth seep into his heart. "Thanks, Lil. This is perfect," he said, tucking it into his pocket, feeling its weight like a shield against his anxiety. After breakfast, the house buzzed with unspoken anticipation. His parents were busy loading the car with supplies for the performance. Jack felt their energy. A mix of pride, worry, and excitement filled the air like the scent of freshly brewed coffee. As they drove to the venue, Jack's mind drifted to what lay ahead. He imagined the stage, the bright lights casting shadows that danced like phantoms. His thoughts raced. What if he forgot the lyrics? What if his fingers slipped? Each possibility churned inside him, building a thick knot in his stomach. Suddenly, a calmness swept over him as his thoughts landed on Jill. Her belief in him had lit a tiny spark of hope. "Just be yourself." He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of her words wash over him. To the venue, the air buzzed with chatter and excitement. The crowd's energy felt electric, and Jack's heart raced faster. The stage glowed under bright lights, its wooden surface polished and inviting. Jack stepped backstage, the chaos beyond curtains muffled but palpable. He caught sight of Maya and waved. She smiled and gave him an encouraging thumbs up. "You got this," she shouted over the noise, her voice cutting through the murmur of voices. Feeling shaky, Jack clasped his guitar, steeling himself for his first appearance. The host announced the acts, and his name echoed through the speakers. "This is it," he whispered to himself, feeling the magic ticket crumple in his pocket. When it was finally his turn, he walked onto the stage, each footstep heavy with every moment he had practiced. The lights blinded him for a moment, but as the cheers swelled, doubt receded just a bit. He strummed the opening chords, the sound filling the space like a heartbeat. The audience went quiet, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Jack focused on the faces before him. There was Lily, bouncing with excitement. Maya nodded, a proud smile on her face. And then he began to sing. The lyrics poured out like water from a broken dam. Each note felt true, carrying the weight of his fears, hopes, and dreams. He became lost in the rhythm, the connection that Maya had spoken of igniting within him. But then, in the middle of the chorus, he hesitated. A note slipped away, and the dreaded fear darted back in. Would they laugh? Would this moment of vulnerability become his downfall? As he faltered, a gentle roar from the audience and a familiar voice rang out, "You're doing great, Jack." It was Jill, her words piercing right through his hesitation. He locked eyes with her, and suddenly everything shifted. It wasn't about perfection anymore. It was about sharing a piece of himself, about bravery over flawlessness. With renewed strength, he launched back into the song, the music lifting him higher. And as he lost himself in the melody, he felt something unexpected, a calm, triumphant warmth spreading through him. The performance carried on, each note binding him tighter to the faces in the crowd. When he finally stepped off stage, cheers echoed in his ears, and he was drenched in a swirl of exhilaration. Jack had done it, but the lingering thought flickered. What if this was only the beginning of something bigger? What lay ahead as the music finished resonating in their hearts? As the last echo of applause faded, Jack stepped off the stage, his heartbeat still thundering like a drum. He had sung his truth, laid bare his fears, and the audience had responded not just with applause, but with warmth. Every cheer felt like a gentle nudge, a sign that he had made the right choice to share his music, his story. Maya rushed up to him, her eyes wide with excitement, almost glowing. "You were incredible, Jack. I knew you could do it." Her enthusiasm enveloped him like a cozy blanket. Jack couldn't help but laugh. The weight of anxiety that had clung to him for so long began to dissipate. "Did I really sound okay?" he asked, still trying to process the reality of what had just happened. "Okay. You were phenomenal," Maya replied, shaking her head in disbelief. "You're not just a mailroom clerk anymore. You're a musician." Around them, the atmosphere buzzed with the afterglow of shared joy. Jack's co-workers gathered, faces lit with admiration. There was laughter, high fives, all infused with a sense of community he hadn't fully appreciated until now. Even Helen, his mother, stood among them, pride radiating off her like sunshine. She clapped her hands together, tears glistening in her eyes. "You've come so far, Jack. I always believed in you." Those words wrapped around his heart, sealing a promise he had made to himself that night. He wanted to keep moving forward, to embrace the music, to build on what he had started. "Thanks, Mom." It felt amazing, he stammered, feeling the weight of the past lifting. But the excitement didn't end there. "Hey, Jack," Eric called from across the crowded room. "You absolutely killed it up there. You're exactly what we need on Thursday nights. So what do you say? Ready to take the stage at my bar?" Jack felt lightheaded. Thursday nights? This was what he had dreamed of. Yes, I'm in," he blurted out, his voice stronger than he expected. Maya squeezed his arm, beaming. "See? One step turns into a leap." Jack's fingertips danced over the strings of his guitar, a smile breaking across his face. "I'll write new songs and I'll perform with Jill. We'll make every night a celebration of music." The crowd erupted in cheers, and for the first time in years, Jack felt truly liberated. The doubts that had once plagued him crumbled piece by piece, leaving room for hope and excitement. Over the next few weeks, he dove headfirst into his music. He spent every free moment with Jill, crafting songs that flowed from their hearts, weaving their stories into melodies. The more they collaborated, the more Jack rediscovered himself. The music that had once been a hidden secret transformed into a vibrant outlet of joy, pain, and everything in between. With each performance at Erika's bar, Jack's confidence grew. He began to step into his identity as a musician, a storyteller sharing his life's fragments through song. The audience listened, connected, laughed, and cried, fueling a bond that transcended the stage. And whenever Jack felt fear creeping back, he closed his eyes and remembered Maya's words. It's about connection, not perfection. Family, friends, and even colleagues came together often, creating a tight-knit community around Jack's newfound passion. They cheered for every note, every melody, and every story shared. As he stood on stage one evening, lights sparkling, the familiar energy in the air, Jack looked out at the crowd. Maya was there, her encouraging smile reassuring him. Helen was beaming with pride. And in the front row, Jill gave him a thumbs up, her eyes shining bright. He took a deep breath, strummed his guitar, and began to sing a new song, one that blended heartache, joy, and everything he had fought to reclaim. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and shared dreams, Jack understood. This wasn't just the end of his old story. It was the beginning of a beautiful new chapter filled with music, courage, and the belief that he could soar as high as his dreams allowed. Now, as we say goodbye to Jack's journey, remember you made it this far. Don't miss out on what's next. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who desperately need to see this transformation. You need to show your support. This is the moment. Don't wait not even one more second.